Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Behind the Counter. I'm Mike, and we are here at Indie PopCon in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I'm walking around, and one of the things I love about comic book conventions is discovering new things. The kind of things that as you're walking by catch your eye. And this was definitely one. I'm here with Eric Flint. Eric, it is a pleasure to meet you. I see your books here. I was flipping through some of them, and it's got a unique look. I was flipping through some of the writing. The stories look really amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about your work?
I've published about 60 novels so far, and what I'm best known for is what's sometimes called the 1632 series, other times called the Ring of Fire series. This is the first book in the series. It came out back in 2000.
That was the first one that caught my attention because I walked by and I saw 1632 and I saw the night and I was like, wait a minute, that's a car.
Yeah. It's the basic premise of the series, and there's by now 22 novels in the series and 12 collections of short fiction, and there's a magazine devoted to it, online magazine called the Grantville Gazette, that has just came out with its 80th, about to come out with its 81st issue.
Wow.
It's published every 2 months. And the basic premise is easy to explain. There's a cosmic accident, and a small coal mining town in northern West Virginia in the year 2000 is transplanted in time and space, and they arrive in Germany, middle of Germany, right in the middle of the 30 Years' War they actually arrived in the year 1631. This novel ends in 1632.
Right.
So it's basically a story of how a small town of Americans handles finding themselves in the middle of what most historians consider the most destructive war in European history. And this is the age, most Americans don't know anything about the history, but they'll recognize the names. This is the age of Richelieu. This is the age of King James, actually King Charles, his son, Galileo. In fact, one of the books, where is it? Where is Galileo Fair? I know we've got it because I saw it. Here we go. This novel is called the Galileo Fair, and it actually takes place when some of the Americans go down and intervene in the trial of Galileo.
Oh, fascinating.
When he was put on trial for heresy. And it just goes on. People really like the series, and like I said, we've started in the year 1631. We just published this year. In fact, I wrote it with Gord, who's over there. It's called 1637, The Volga Rules, and it's the first book dated to year 1637. The series, as it goes, starts spreading out. There's a main line of the series that follows the main characters I initially introduced, and those I write usually on my own. And this is the most recent one, came out in the main line, which is 1636, The Ottoman Onslaught. But the story is branched out, and it takes place, it's kind of the way the impact that original event affected Europe, and then it starts spreading around the whole world. And how the Americans react to it, how people at the time react to the Americans, and the interaction between them. And that's basically what the series is about. I've written a number of other books. The thing I'm best known for is what they call alternate history, which you'll change something in history and see what happens. Gorg and I also, with our friend Paula, started a new series. The first book's called The Alexander Inheritance. It's already come out, and the next one's called The Macedonian Hazard, which hasn't been published yet. The premise there, it uses the same cosmic accident MacGuffin I used for 1632.
We know the term MacGuffin.
But in that case, what happens is a modern cruise ship in the Caribbean gets transplanted in the Mediterranean about 2 years after the death of Alexander the Great. And that period is known by historians as the age of the Diadochi, and Diadochi just means successors. And it was kind of Game of Thrones on steroids, because Alexander left no clear successor.
Oh, no, yeah.
And by the time 50 years of fighting was over, the entire royal dynasty, everyone in it had been murdered. There were no survivors left of Alexander's line. And of the roughly 24 generals who started, 3 of them survived, and they wound up carving up the empire into 3 parts between them. So we planted our cruise ship right smack at the beginning of that process, and we're having a lot of fun with it. Anyway, so I've written straight science fiction, epic fantasy. You know, I write. I've got one urban fantasy novel I did recently with a friend of mine who's also an FBI agent. So it's a kind of cross between fantasy and an FBI police procedure. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy what I do.
Do you have a website where people
yeah,
who
you can
aren't
just
here...
go, you can go several actually. You can go to Eric Flint. Honestly, if you just type my name into Google, Eric Flint, you will not have any trouble finding. I think I'm the first entry on the first 3 pages, I believe. Pretty close to it. I have my own website. The 1632 series has its website. The magazine has its own website. I have my own publishing house called Eric Flint's Ring of Fire Press. That has its own website. Plus you'll get reviews and so on and so forth. That's the way. It's the easiest way rather than people trying to write down addresses. Just Google my name and you'll find them.
And I have one last question for you. I buy one of your books. Will you sign it for me?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Glad to.